And it was just instantaneous. Everything that everybody had in their hands were flying through the air. There was a lady behind me that was yelling, my baby, my baby. So I can just assume that she had an infant in her arms and let go of it.
That is a harrowing story, or part of which, of severe turbulence on United Flight 1676 going from Denver to Billings, Montana. 114 people on board, 5 crew, and 5 ended up going to the hospital. There were reports, 1 in critical condition. We're still trying to confirm that. Bottom line, it was a nightmare, and we have with us Phil Holloway. He's a pilot, flight instructor, criminal defense attorney. We'll get his expert analysis in just a moment, but we also have somebody who was on that flight, Laurel Lindy, on the plane with her son, row 8. Laurel, we're happy you're okay. What happened?
Oh, it was pretty crazy for a couple of seconds there. We were just having a normal flight. There was no indication that there would be any turbulence happening, and then all of a sudden we felt the plane kind of jerk to the right a little bit, and then bam, it was kind of a quick fall and almost felt like an impact from down below somehow.
Okay, describe for me. Did you have your seatbelt on? What did you feel personally?
Yeah, I had my seatbelt on. Everybody in my row did. There was actually a pilot that was traveling back to Billings just in off time in between my son and I. All 3 of us had our seatbelts on, and we were just kind of, you could feel your limbs sort of jerk away from your body, but definitely we were safe because we had our seatbelts on. A lot of others around of us, not as lucky. They were flying around. When you say that, what'd you see? There was a man a couple of rows in front of us that physically, jumped up out of his seat and hit the ceiling of the aircraft and ended up across the aisle in the lap of another woman that was there. Wow. Yeah, and Laurel, maybe you can address this for us. We've heard reports of a baby basically flying out of a parent's arms. Did you see that? We were far forward of the baby incident, but we actually heard from another person that we know from town that saw the baby leave the mother's arms. The baby ended up in the other aisle, too, from what I understand, in an empty seat. So the baby is safe. Everything was fine. Yeah, and again, 114 on board, 5 end up with injuries of some nature. What was going on in your mind? I mean, did you think, wow, this could be it? Yeah. When you hit something like that, the first thing that comes to mind when you're traveling around in Montana is that once that turbulence starts, it usually doesn't stop until you land. And I was thinking to myself, we're a little too far out to be having this sort of turbulence. And I really didn't want to sustain it all the way to the landing point. Wow. And there was no warning, right? You didn't There was no warning. It was, I think everybody on board, the crew, the pilots, everybody was just completely taken by surprise by it. There was no warning for us to get back to our seats, put our seatbelts on, nothing like that. When the plane landed, what was your emotion? That was some relief happening. We had a little clap about it, and everybody was pretty happy. Got it. Hey, last one. Are you going to fly anytime soon? No, there's no plans to fly, not because of this, but I think we'll be driving for a little bit. There you go, terra firma. Well, thanks for sharing your story, Laurel. Let's bring Phil into the conversation. And I'm sure a lot of people going, turbulence, is it detectable? I mean, I've heard it, but, flying cross country, hey, buckle up, here the next 10 minutes is going to be a little rough. What do pilots know about turbulence before it hits? Well, I can tell you there's 2 kinds of pilots, those who have experienced clear air turbulence and those who will. Imagine an aircraft flying at 500 miles an hour in the jet stream, and suddenly, out of nowhere, from underneath the airplane comes a giant trampoline and smacks the airplane so hard that it can cause structural damage. People and items that are not strapped down go flying around, as we heard the caller say. This is clear air turbulence, and this is why it is a pilot's worst nightmare. It is undetectable. It is not, you can't see it with your eyes. You certainly can't see it with radar. It comes literally out of the clear blue sky. Wow. Can turbulence take a plane down or not? Well, it can. It's rare, but it can, because there are certain instances where a plane may not be able to withstand the structural forces that it experiences during clear air turbulence. Okay. And pilots might have a problem getting control of the airplane. They can't read the controls. They can't read the instruments. They can't sometimes physically grab the flight controls. So it can absolutely cause big problems. Experienced pilots look for turbulence
at a crowded airport, they'll look for turbulence around clouds, but this kind of stuff literally comes out of the blue.
What's the worst you've ever experienced as a pilot?
Well, I've had clear air turbulence cause me to come out of my seatbelt to the point where I struck my head on the cabin of a light aircraft. And literally, this stuff happens at all altitudes, at all places.
Okay. What'd you do? Well, what do you do?
It passed so quickly, we just got ourselves together and carried on. You know, it's just one of these things that happens, and it comes with experience. But fortunately, it's not something that's usually fatal.
Okay. So is there, and let's hit on the attorney side of this. I mean, is there any recourse for passengers? Is this you fly, this is what happens?
This is what happens. There's no way for the air crew to know it's coming. They can't see it, and they can't detect it on radar. So it's not the airline's fault. It's just nature.
Got it. And a lot of people said this on social media, and we should take heed again when we're instructed to put, when we're sitting down, you might as well have the seatbelt on, right? Because this could happen at a moment's notice.
Absolutely. Strap it on.
Yeah. Boom, there you go. All right, well, Phil, thanks again. Appreciate your expert advice, or expert analysis on this, and of course, Laurel, firsthand account on that flight, and we'll keep you posted on all of that.